Hey YouTubers, it's Lux here. I would like to make a video, hopefully I can keep it as short as possible, about tyranny and about liberty, and about what that really means. Before I start my little rant here, I would like to ask anybody and everybody here on YouTube who has a video posted, a website, a blog, either post that video response here in the comments. And I understand you're not allowed to post links outright in the comments, but please leave a name of your blog and your website. I am interested in seeing what you have to say and what you found, as I think we all should be. Why am I making this video? I've had a couple of people ask me why I'm suddenly talking about the Second Amendment and guns and the law. Most of my other videos are about the cosmos and about humanity, and about how we should reach out to one another. So there's some confusion as to why I'm talking about all this strange real world kind of thing. And I'll offer this. If I were to make a video about UFOs or ghosts or that type of thing, people would be open-minded enough to listen to what I have to say, to watch my video. But if I make a video about the Second Amendment, about tyranny, about liberty, people don't want to hear about that. Why? Because a lot of people already know what they think. There's a lot of videos here on YouTube. It seems like everybody's making videos about their feelings on guns and gun violence. Well, if you're making those kinds of videos, the truth is the only people who watch those videos to their conclusion are people who agree with you. Other people who disagree with you, who want to throttle the Second Amendment, who enjoy government tyranny and think we should have more laws and more restraints, those people aren't going to watch your videos. They're not going to change their mind. No, they're not. They're just going to look at the title of your video and they're going to leave a comment which proves that they didn't bother to watch your video, and they're going to leave whatever their opinion is. And they have a right to their opinion. They certainly do. But I think a lot of people are missing the point here. I really, really think the point is being missed, because tyranny exists in every community. Every community. These two jackasses, these two murderers right here, are proof of what I'm talking about. When you have government actors, state actors, persons acting under color of law, and those persons murder citizens, beat citizens, engage in unconstitutional searches and seizures upon citizens, you have tyranny. Tyranny is not some ethereal concept that exists at the highest level of governments to which your life may never be subject. Tyranny is right here. It's a psychopath in uniform with a badge and a gun, patrolling your district. Yes, that's what it is. It exists. Now, I understand that probably very few people will watch this video. I know that. And I know that the majority of people who have the patience to watch it and listen to what I'm saying already probably agree with me. But I think we're past the time now of understanding that doing things online, sending out emails, telling people to sign petitions, these types of things are not very effective at actually accomplishing something, because they're not real world things. They're not real world actions that we can take to secure our liberty. There was a movie, I believe it was called The Woods, which was a very bizarre movie, and I did watch all of it just because it was so bizarre. But the movie begins with sort of a narrative where people are talking about how they sent emails and did other types of things to try and, get the government to do something different than what they were doing. And still the end of the world and the big war or whatever came. And it was sort of funny, but it was also a lot true. There are some people here on YouTube they're really excellent at disseminating information, useful information. And I applaud those people. But there's a lot of people, and I'm going to include this video in that group, which are just talking, they're preaching to the choir. And I don't want to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be the person who just sits here and flogs a dead horse. Citizens need to take some degree of action in their community. Every single one of you listening to this video has some ability to do something. And I'm not talking about sending out email form letters from a website to your state representatives. I'm talking about writing articles for your local paper. I'm talking about having true-to-life conversations with your state representatives. Doing something to show that you're interested in protecting your own liberty, the liberty of your family and your loved ones. Making videos and writing blogs, that's all well and good. It's great that everyone's got an opinion, and I love to read a well-reasoned decision. There's nothing I like more than an intriguing theory. Nothing I like more. But I think we're past that point. I think we need to come to terms with what's really happening. And why am I showing these two clowns, these two murderers? Why am I doing that? These two guys are just two of a group of officers who murdered an unarmed, homeless, mentally ill individual within earshot and within line of sight of about 100 people in a public place. Nobody did anything. How could they? Now, as punishment for their alleged crime, they get to have paid leave. Believe this guy is still on the job. Not sure what happened to this guy yet. They should both have been behind bars that very night that they committed murder. A murder that's plainly documented in video form here on YouTube. If you want to watch the murder of a citizen, just search for Kelly Thomas video. You'll see. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely unforgivable. If you or I committed that type of murder, if I got together with 10 of my close friends and decided to go after somebody and kill him, we'd all be behind bars, as we should be. Nobody would give us a paycheck to sit home and watch television and do God only knows what while they decide whether or not what we did was a crime. No. These guys get special treatment. Their buddies didn't even get charged. Not criminally. They're still on the job. That's tyranny on a local scale. Now, these men are psychopaths. These are men who committed cold-blooded murder on a vulnerable person. And they knew that they were being watched. They knew that there were other people looking on. They probably didn't know that they were being videotaped. This individual right here instigated a conflict, escalated a conflict, and he knew going into the scenario that he was going to beat Kelly Thomas in a severe manner. And I'll tell you how I know that. If you don't have the stomach to watch the murder of a US citizen in real time by a state actor, then don't watch the entire Kelly Thomas murder video. Just watch the questioning phase. And watch for this. During the time when these two individuals were questioning Kelly Thomas, this ass clown was searching his backpack and calling in his ID. This individual was standing over him. Kelly Thomas had his shoes off. There comes a point in the video very early on where you can see that Kelly is putting his shoes back on. Now, everybody in law enforcement knows that when the suspect starts putting his shoes back on, that means he's about to flee, more than likely. Because most folks, especially homeless folks who don't have an extra pair of shoes, they're not going anywhere without their shoes. This murderer right here just stands by as Kelly puts his shoes on. So he knew that there was a chance that Kelly Thomas could flee. And when Kelly Thomas heard this individual threatening to use his fists, that was clear evidence to Kelly Thomas that something was going on, that he was about to be injured. So as soon as these guys started to come after him, you bet he fled. You can bet he did, because he was scared for his life. This guy already threatened him. This guy searched his backpack and didn't really find anything. The 911 call that instigated the event was bogus. It was later discovered that the woman who called it in just called it in because she was sick of the homeless guy hanging out. Wasn't really doing anything except being homeless. That's not crime. There's a lot more people becoming homeless nowadays. That's pretty scary that a homeless person who's not really doing anything would be seen as a threat. But these are just an example of psychopaths in uniform who get rewarded for their murderous acts, for their unconstitutional searches, seizures, beatings, assaults, questionings, interrogations on U.S. citizens. Now, when you complain about abuse of police power or state power, when you complain, it's very nice that you might write a blog or do a video about this. But ask yourself, what does that accomplish, really? Because the only people who are going to read it or listen to what you have to say are people who already agree with you. And the fact that they're watching a video, that they're home, or maybe they're at work, they're just sitting there watching the video going, yeah, man, yeah, yeah. Does that mean they're doing anything about it? No. Doesn't mean that at all. Just means that they agree with you. Now, if you're the kind of person who just likes to hear yourself talk, then it's very cool that people give you a thumbs up on your video, or they give you a comment or a little message. That's wonderful. It's great to network with people who are of a similar mindset, who believe in liberty, who do not appreciate certain factions in our government and in our society attempting to take liberties away, attempting to thwart the Constitution with their actions and their legislation and their executive orders. It's wonderful that there are a lot of people on the same page. But the time is long past to take some form of real world action. Hear my words. The time is long past. Now, you could write letters and articles for your local paper. That would be a nice thing to do, because certainly you will reach a different audience in the printed form than you do on the internet. You could approach local news stations to do stories about this type of thing. That would certainly reach a different audience. But that's not really the root of the problem. The serious root of the problem is that we have people in our government, elected and appointed, who do not speak for us. They are not on the side of liberty. They do not believe in the type of freedom that is guaranteed to us by the Constitution. Indeed, we have a few Supreme Court justices, recent additions to the court, recent appointments to the court, I might add, who do not favor constitutional liberties. Now, removing a Supreme Court justice is next to impossible. But it does help us to review the decisions that these people have made. Now, a number of you probably did during their confirming phase, the confirmation hearings when they were being questioned. And it's frightening to think that people can still be appointed even though they don't believe in the Constitution as a living document, which it is. In a previous video, I've urged every single person who doesn't really know the Constitution above and beyond the four corners of its words. I've encouraged you to take a law class, not a criminal justice class, but an actual law class. You can take these online. If you don't want to take a class and you don't want to read law books, you're not really sure what they mean or which ones to buy, get the case notes for constitutional law and criminal law. And if you really want to get down and funky, study civil procedure and criminal procedure to understand the procedural elements of what goes on. Simply waving around the Second Amendment and restating it again and again and again in video form or as a blog, that doesn't really help anything. It really doesn't. People need to understand why the Second Amendment is important. The interesting part for me, and I'm going to add this, there's probably like one person who's ever going to listen to this video in its entirety, but I'm going to say this. The same people who are so pro First Amendment, there's a lot of you out there, you're so in favor of free speech, but at the same time, you would restrict the Second Amendment liberties of your fellow citizens without really understanding why the Second Amendment exists. You have nothing to fear from law-abiding gun owners. This use of the words gun enthusiast and gun nuts, this is a creation. It's a fallacy. And it's put forth by the media, and it's intended to create and instigate an atmosphere of fear upon people who don't understand weapons, who don't own weapons. They know that weapons are bad. And a lot of people are buying into this. Now, nobody likes dead children. Nobody wants to hear about that. That is a terrible thing. Nobody likes that. But I find it interesting and intriguing that the way this is being put forth in the media is that gun owners are somehow unable to think that dead children is a bad idea because we're so in love with our guns that we don't care who gets killed. And that's a fallacy. That's a creation. That has nothing to do with the reality of gun ownership. It also has nothing to do with why there's a Second Amendment to the Constitution. That Second Amendment says nothing about single-shot firearms that are, allowed for purposes of hunting. Or, and it's okay to have target shooting or speed loading or things that don't involve the shooting of people or the forming of militia. It doesn't say anything about recreational or survival use of weapons. It talks about liberty. It really does. Now, given that we have people like this in uniform just on the local level, and I'm not even going to go into situations like Ruby Ridge or Waco, where you have supreme firepower and multiple federal agencies with endless resources coming after individuals because of what they believe, because of their gun ownership, because of allegations of other types of crimes, where they can just outright come and kill you and kill your family in a totally unconstitutional, non-due process manner, simply because they possess the firepower. You have that. All of us have that looming over us. And we're way past the time of just making videos and writing blogs about this, because people like this need to go. They need not to be on the payroll. When they commit a heinous murder, they need not to be on paid leave. Citizens need to get off their butts, and they need to take real world action. Do you understand what I'm saying? Actual conversations with your leaders, with your government. You need to call your local law enforcement agencies, and you need to find out what is their stance on this nonsense that's going on in the media and in our government right now. You need to know where you stand. If you know that you have cops in your neighborhood, in your district, that are lawbreakers, then simply making videos of them is clearly not enough. Clearly. Did you know that the Texas Rangers actually investigated the complaint of the women who were unlawfully searched, who had their body cavities improperly and unhygienically searched in a public space in the dark? Do you know that the Texas Rangers investigated that complaint and threw it out? Anyone watching that video with any sense knows that that was unconstitutional. You can feel it in your gut. You don't need to have any degree. You don't need to have an education past the first grade to know that that's wrong. But the Texas Rangers investigated that. Now, I've always had great respect for the Rangers. They're an admirable group. At least I thought they were. Well, I'll tell you what. If I live in Texas, which I don't, but if I did, and I knew that that agency investigated that complaint and threw it out, I would really like to know. In fact, I'd have a vested interest in knowing why they threw that disgusting case out. Why is it that we on YouTube can watch that same video and see very plainly that these women's constitutional rights were violated? We're not Texas Rangers. Why is that? You can write all the emails you want to. You can write all the blogs. You can make all the videos you want to. That doesn't change the problem. There are people in our government who are appointed and elected that need to go because they don't have our best interests at heart. Vote them out. Expose them. See, these are the things that really matter. If you want to make videos, make those kinds of videos. Because personally, if you agree with me, that's great. But that's not what I want to see. I want to see the evidence. I want to see the result of people fighting for their liberty. And I don't mean fighting with guns. All right, we don't need to go there. We're all thinking human beings who can see videos here on YouTube of police misconduct, of government misconduct, and we can all agree that it's wrong, that it's terrible. But why are these people still in uniform? And the frightening part of this situation here, if you research the Kelly Thomas case, you'll know that Kelly Thomas's dad was a retired police officer, uncle was a police officer, grandfather, great-grandfather. He had a lineage of law enforcement in his family. And these people are fighting. They're fighting to get these murderers behind bars. The community is behind them in a way that I've never seen. Amazing. Amazing fight on the part of the community to make sure that people like these don't wear a uniform in their community. That people who commit murder are put behind bars. And you will be shocked at what is going on. You'll be shocked. Now, people in our government, members of law enforcement, and our judiciary, they shouldn't get a special pass. No, they should not. In fact, they have a duty to be better than everybody else, to be less violent, to be more public in their affairs. That's why there are dash cams on police cruisers. That's why people wear belt recorders, because their conduct while they're on the job is expected to rise to a higher standard. They're not supposed to use their fists and their weapons and their guns as the first line of dealing with citizens, because they're trained. They're trained how to avoid conflict, to de-escalate conflict. And they're expected to be better than the rest of us. When we do things for ourselves, for our family. We don't do things for the larger group because we're not charged with that duty. We haven't sworn an oath upon the Constitution. These people have. So they're supposed to behave better. Everything about them is supposed to be public knowledge. When you become a public servant, part of that hiring process involves extensive background checks, psychiatric evaluations, blood tests, and urine tests for drugs and other substances that might be in the blood. Because you're supposed to be the best of the best, so that you can look out for other people and not act in a selfish and violent manner. When you're a state representative, you're not thinking for yourself. You're not voting for things based on what you personally believe. You're supposed to be representing the people who put you where you are. I think the evidence has been in for a long time. Clearly, these people are not looking out for us, or else we would not have this nonsense. Further, I would say, the majority of mass media outlets has a very clear and distinct agenda. And I'm going to mention Russia Today and CNN as pot-stirring elements in this situation. The eve of the shooting in Connecticut, there was a video made by Russia Today, and I'm going to put a link to that because I want you to watch it. The story is put forth initially as a candlelit vigil in Washington, D.C. to mourn the loss of these people who were killed, these children and the teachers, the individuals who were savagely murdered. However, the mourners are not just concerned citizens, they are all professional activists, and their names are given, which is nice. Look these people up and see who they really are. These are professional activists with an agenda. Now, if you want to talk about something that's disgusting, using a murder, a horrible mass murder of children no less, to further your agenda in a public manner is very disgusting. Very, very reprehensible. If you want to have a candlelight vigil to mourn the death of somebody, that's one thing. If you truly feel in your heart that this is a horrible thing and you want to demonstrate that you're sad over this and that you are in solidarity with the family for their loss, I can respect that. There is not one person, except for maybe that horrible church whose name I'm not even going to mention, who thinks that this is a great thing. Nobody thinks murder is fabulous. No one. So why would you use something like that to further your agenda? Well, because you have an agenda. And I'll tell you right now, that is not an agenda which is consistent with liberty. Not in the least. The Second Amendment is a major part of who we are and why we are. It is our last line of defense against tyranny. An armed citizenry is intended to ensure that we have armed and able-bodied persons who can assist the military in the event of a government tyranny, a takeover by foreign or domestic powers. It's very important to the maintenance of liberty. I wish more people would see that. I really do. But for those of you who have wasted half an hour of your life listening to me babble, please don't watch any more of my videos until you've done something and can tell me what you've done. What are you doing? I'm going to make some videos about what I'm doing. So I might not make any videos on this subject for a while because I'm engaged in real-world efforts here. I think we're past the point of providing all sorts of opinions for people who already agree with us. We're past that. I really do look forward to hearing what you have done, what you're continuing to do in the real world to secure your own liberty. I hope everyone is safe. I hope everyone is warm and happy. And when I say keep looking up, I mean it in every way, shape, and form. Much love to everybody. Happy December 23rd, 2012.